Hi, this is Frans with Orscheln Products. Today we're going to talk about part numbers and how to identify a cable. We're going to take a look at the HP cable catalog and also at this cable ruler to identify part numbers. So you may ask, why is it important to know the part number? The interesting thing is the Orscheln part number, every digit means something, and that's how you identify a cable. There's really about 5 pieces of information you need to know about a cable in order to identify it. The important part about that is that part number is what takes the cable builder to the bench and into his build sheet so that he knows the steps and the parts needed for that cable. So most of the cables that you're going to find in the market are going to be something found in the HP cable catalog. If we open the catalog and take a look at the Orscheln part number, I want to show you this page here that talks about the 3 different sections of our part number. The first section is basically a box that can kind of help explain which type of cable it is off of the front of the catalog. The middle section is really the key. It has all the details that the cable builder needs to know to build the cable. And the final series of numbers is just the length. So the cable we're going to look at first here is this push-pull cable like I have in my hand. It's located on page 5 and 6 of our catalog. And if you'll notice, the page has a cable builder box with leader lines and options you can choose for the different digits of the cable. This is what you're going to identify on the cable that you have in hand. We're also going to take a look using this cable guide of how to do that. So using the cable ruler is an easy way to identify the 5 pieces of information that you need to know. The first box asks you what the series of the cable is, or the size. This card has holes on the side that can help you identify if you're not good at just knowing what the thread is. This is a universal thing that you can use on anyone's cable by just matching the thread of the rod through the hole. As you can see, this one fits in the 3 series hole size. So your first box is 3 for 3 series. The second piece of information talks about cable travel. Now, cable travel is done in 1-inch increments. In this particular cable, you can see the cable travel is this distance that the cable moves. You can tell that's from the back side of this button to the end of that seal. Using the cable ruler part, you just lay this down and you can see that this travels just a little bit over 1 inch. Now the cable travels are in 1-inch increments, so this is a 1-inch travel cable. A second way you can tell the travel is maybe if this is frozen up or it doesn't work, is to measure this tube or this sleeve. If you notice, the sleeve goes down inside the fitting somewhat and it stops right about here in this seal. So if you measure the distance of that or the length of that tube, you'll see that it's approximately 2 inches long. That tube is 1 inch longer than the travel of the cable. So since the tube is 2 inches, the travel is 1 inch. The one thing I would just mention is that you look at both sides to make sure they're symmetrical. The third way is actually a little more technical way, and it uses the card to identify the travel of the cable by measuring some dimensions on the cable. This might be important if you're missing a component of the cable or it's so damaged you can't quite check that travel. So looking at the cable, and in this particular instance I'm looking at the bulkhead end, we look at this diagram that shows the bulkhead end, and what it's doing is it's wanting you to measure the distance between the center of the threads and the end of that seal, this seal here. So if you line your ruler up with that to about the middle of the threads or the nominal mounting point and the end of that seal, it's about 3 inches long. Okay, so we're looking at a 3 series cable. We go across this row. We stay up here on the top part of the row because we're looking at the bulkhead, and we just look for that measurement. Is it 3 inches? Yeah. It's not 4 inches, so we know it's in this column, and this is a 1-inch travel column. So now that we have the first 2 bits of information, the series and the travel, the next 2 boxes want to know what are the fittings on the cable. Is it a bulkhead fitting or a clamp fitting? Looking at the cable, you can see that in this one we have one of each. We have a bulkhead fitting on this end and a clamp fitting on that end. And you can have different configurations. You can have bulkheads on both ends or clamps on both ends, or in this case we have one of each. The bulkhead fitting is indicated by a number 2. I think of it like this. Bulkhead B is the second letter of the alphabet, so it's a 2. The clamp C is the third letter of the alphabet, so it's a 3. So what we have here is a 3, 1, 2, 3. The final bit of information is what is the length, and that is these last 4 digits. It's indicated in inches, and you just simply lay the cable out on your track, measure it tip to tip, and put that in there. This was a 36-inch cable, so it would be 0036, and that's a full part number. And so that's how you build a part number for a standard push-pull cable. Now there's other kinds of cables out there you're going to see from time to time. If you start looking through the catalog, the next ones are T-handle cables. And the things you notice on these pages that there's a part number builder box that has the same type of thing, 4 or 5 pieces of information that you need to fill in to be able to build that part number. The other thing to keep in mind on this page is notice where the overall length is dimensioned to. Some of these cables have different length callouts than the standard push-pull that is tip to tip. Not all of them are tip to tip. So just pay attention to that as you go through here. And that's it. That's how you build a part number. And that's how you get the right cable every time.